Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Mile, and this is NFL Weekly, the show where I recap some of the stuff that's happened last week in the NFL and look forward to some of the stuff that's happening in the coming week. So, a few big things I want to talk about. First of all, Joe Flacco threw 4 touchdown passes in the first quarter, and they went into halftime up like 40-0. So, Bucks fans, it's almost as bad to be a Bucks fan this season as it is to be a Raiders fan. Except this week the Raiders almost won. They almost pulled off the upset. Derek Carr almost led them to a victory. But Philip Rivers continues his impressive MVP performance type season thingy. And the Chargers, they were able to pull off the comeback. And also the NFL has its first tie of the regular season as the Bengals and Panthers go into overtime and the game ends 37-37 thanks to the new rules in place that mean if you don't get a touchdown, then the other team has a chance. So like one of them kicked a field goal, then the other one kicked a field goal, and then no one scored after that. So it ends with a tie. And then you got the Dallas Cowboys, who impressively won in Seattle, something that doesn't happen too often, the Seahawks losing in Seattle. And Beast Mode was not necessarily held in check. I only got 6 fantasy points out of him, but that's because they simply stopped feeding him the ball. I don't even know. But, until they actually win the Super Bowl, I'm just going to keep hating on the Cowboys. And that's because, I've been so adamantly rooting for them. I mean, I've been a Cowboys fan my whole life. I was walking around in an Emmitt Smith jersey before I even knew what football was. Born and raised in Texas, I really had no choice. But here's the thing. I've been cheering for them and rooting for them and supporting them for so long, and they've done nothing. The moment I stop having their back, they start winning. So, for the good of my team, I'm going to keep bagging on them all season, because then they're going to stop proving me wrong. They just love to do that. They just love to prove me wrong. So as long as I talk shit about them, they'll keep playing well. So guess what I'm going to make sure to do every single episode? Very superstitious! Also, Demarco Murray, who has been probably the key to their success, he has now had 6 consecutive games of over 100 yards. Only the second player in NFL history to ever do that. And if he actually stays healthy all season, which would be the first time in his career that he was able to pull that off, who knows? Maybe he'll be the reason we finally change our mind about them boys. And then in fantasy, I don't really have much to say about that this week. I was wrong on a lot of different fronts, except halfbacks. There are a lot of halfbacks, like I talked about Brendan Oliver last week. Until Ryan Matthews gets healthy again, which even when he does get healthy, there's a good chance he'll just go out there and just hurt himself right back again. So Brendan Oliver might still be a good pickup. And until Ryan Matthews is 100%, Oliver's going to be their prime back. And then you've also got Ben Tate from the Cleveland Browns, who 2 games in a row he's gotten close to that 20-point mark. Justin Forsett he's gotten like 4 straight games with double-digit points, so he's a good play right now. Also, there's a lot of wide receivers that are being put on the experts waiver wire list. The only one I'm really looking at right now, though, Malcom Floyd, because right now I've got 4 halfbacks, 3 of which all scored in double digits last week. The one of them who didn't was Beast Mode, which was just a little shocking. But I never expected that Marshawn Lynch would be the lowest scoring halfback in any game unless he got injured. But whatever. Anyways, I've only got 4 receivers on my roster. That's all I needed. They all come through for me. But 2 of them are going to be on bye next week, so I'm picking up Malcom Floyd just because he doesn't have a high ceiling. Last week, which was against the Raiders, who are a horrible team, he had a season-high 16 fantasy points, but the worst game he's had all season was still 7 points, and I only need him to do well for 1 week. So, his ceiling isn't that high, but the floor is very high. Worst game of the year is still only 7 points, which is very decent because I picked up Larry Donald and he's had like 2 straight games of 0 points basically. So there's that. And then some big injuries. The Pats lost Ridley and Mayo for the rest of the season. So just when they're getting good and getting in rhythm, they lose two key pieces, both on offense and defense. Then this could affect them in the long run. They're probably still going to make the playoffs because they have a shitty division. But that's not the point. Then you got the Browns. They will be without center Alex Mack. When I first heard the story, when it first broke, there were reports that he probably wouldn't play again this season. But right now, they're also saying that they're hopeful he could potentially make a return. As of right now, I can't say anything that is really set in stone. And as for the coming games this week, the Eagles and Bucks have a bye week. And then on Thursday, you've got the Jets at the Patriots. So, yay, another Thursday night blowout. And then on Sunday, the 1 o'clock games, one that I'm interested in is the Browns at the Jaguars. Because right now, the Browns have fooled a lot of people into believing that they're actually a good team. And I just wonder how long they can keep that up. I mean, another win on their record, keep moving up in the division. The people will still be fooled for a whole nother week. Or they could lose to the Jaguars and that whole curtain just drops. And then you got the Panthers at the Packers simply because they've got two of the best, not necessarily the best, but two of the most versatile and explosive playmaking QBs in the game with Newton and Rodgers. It could be a very exciting one to watch potentially. And then at the 4 o'clock games, you got some division rivals. You got the Chiefs at the Chargers. Both of these teams still have plenty to prove. And you've also got the Giants at the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they seem to be legit right now, but you never know. I mean, how long can Murray keep up this strong running that he's gotten? How long can he keep up this strong start? Eventually, he's going to have an off game, right? And then you've got Eli Manning, he's always played very well in Jerry World. Usually he plays better in Cowboy Stadium than he does in his own, so who knows? And then the night game is the 49ers at Broncos. The two main reasons you need to watch this is because, one, it's the only football game on that night, and two, Peyton Manning could very well make history. And I'm going to assume that he will make it. He's only a few touchdown passes behind Brett Favre for the most all-time in NFL history. I have a feeling he's going to do it that night. And then you've got the Texans at the Steelers, or as Katie Nolan so bluntly put it, you're going to have the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Houston J.J. Watts. So that's it for this edition of NFL Weekly. Tune in next week for another all-new edition. And until then, this has been a Fan Perspective. I'm your host, Nathan Lyle. Have a happy week.